experiences, Napa Valley, wine tasting, spoiling my women friends, sitting at the table with millionaires. The narrative is tax loops, accounts offshore squares. It's not allowed.
We are live. We are live. We are live. If you can see me, press 1, and if you can hear me, press 2. You know, that's our philosophy over here, top shelf or nothing. So if everything is good on your end, if you can see me and if you can hear me, go ahead and press 1 and go ahead and press 2 and let me know everything is everything. I want to tell you that you're at the right place at the right time. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with your boy. This is Coin Gang Ministries, the #1 home for what? Celebrity gossip? Nah. The #1 home for personal development. This is a place where you come in ordinary and you leave extraordinary. This is a place that you come and get a different perspective. But if you can see me, press 1, and if you can hear me, press 2. 1 second. And if everything is good on your end, we'll do what it is that we came here to do. It's an honor and a pleasure anytime we come together in the spirit of personal development. It's always a pleasure and it's an honor. I really enjoy myself. I really appreciate those that show up. You know what I'm saying? Less is more. Whether it's one person that shows up, I do appreciate it because it allows me to do my purpose. So if there's no you, there's no me. This is ministry for the abstract mind. This is a safe space for everybody out there that has an out-the-box philosophy. What's good? You're in the right place at the right time. If you have babies, I want you to keep your babies close. I want you to hug your babies, love on your babies. I know they give you a tough time, but love on them. It goes quick. And if you have someone in your life, please, please be patient with them because this love thing is very, very, very tricky. We have to figure out how to grow on each other's time. Let me tell you about the conversation that I have today. This conversation is going to definitely show what I mean about abstract ministry. This is going to be a conversation where all I want you to go is, because today we're going to talk about how environment programs the software. Who's the software, right? The software, or what is the software? The software is our belief systems, right? The way that we see the world. We're going to talk about how we make this thing up as we go. I want to ask a question about who we are now. I want to talk about modern gender decoded. I know if you're like me, you've been hearing people say modern. Well, what does that actually mean? What does it mean to be modern, right? We're going to talk about male and female digitized, and we're going to talk about what about fusion. My conversation today is an interesting conversation. Our conversation today is an interesting conversation. Our conversation today is manhood and womanhood reimagined. Our convo today is manhood and womanhood reimagined. And what does that mean? That based on everything that's going on right now in the world, now and in the future, we're going to have to reimagine what we call a man. And we're going to have to reimagine what we call a woman, because the conditions that existed prior don't exist no more. Now, when you change one thing, you change everything, right? So what is a woman in a digital world? We're going to have to reimagine that. You know, what is a man in a digital world? You know, we're going to have to reimagine that. What is a man and a woman with assistance from artificial intelligence? Is that still the picture we have in our mind as a man? We're going to have to really dive deep in that. So let's begin. When you close your eyes and I say, what is a woman? What comes to your mind? Is it your mom hugging you? Is it your mom making you food? You know, you scrape your knee, she puts a Band-Aid on you. Is that the picture that comes to your mind? Is it a woman in an apron? Is it a woman wearing lipstick? What comes to your mind? When I say, what is a man? What comes to your mind? Is it your dad walking in and the shoulders are strong and he got groceries in his hand? Is it that? Is it him coming in, smacking your mama on the ass, you know, lifting her up, whisking her away? Is it that? What made them like that, right? Environment created what we call man and what we call woman. Nature did that. Okay, we got to understand environment and how environment is such an interesting thing and is so under talked about, because we're using tradition and we're using modern, but one of the things that we're missing from the conversation is the conditions that make a person modern and the conditions that make a person traditional, right? Because you can't be traditional in your dating, but you're modern in everything else. No, you're a modern person because you use apps, you use algorithms, right? You're interested in search engine optimization. You go to the grocery store, you fly on planes, you watch television, you listen to music by streaming. You are a person in the now. So your relationship is in the now. What you call tradition in your mind doesn't actually exist anymore because of the environment, right? What is environment? You know, I like to go to the etymology of the word. The short form of the word is environ, to surround, encircle, encompass. So basically, environment is to be in something. You're in it. And because you're in it, it begins to shape who you are and the way you see the world. And then after time goes on, you have culture now, right? A set of agreed upon ideals by the group. It becomes our culture. But that comes from the environment, though. So now we're looking at the word environment. We see that the word environment is to encircle or to encompass. Basically, you are in this thing. Environment is actually a womb. You're in it. And the environment tells you what to be. Okay? So when we're thinking of man and woman, understand that what we know man and woman as comes from environment first. Right? So that's the short form of the word. And then you have environment, state of being environed. The aggregate of the condition in which a person or thing lives. We're going to talk a lot about things, right? So environment determines what we are. Who we are shows up in our physical nature, right? But the who doesn't represent what we are. And what we are, our true selves, is an it. Okay. What we really are is an it. The who is my personality, right? Who is that? Oh, that's Ken Billions, right? That's my face. That's my hair, my clothes, right? But that's not really what I am, though. You're not really your clothes, right? You're not really your hair. That's the who part of you. That's not addressing the what part of you. Now, when you look at something like this, the sun is an it. It does not have a personality. It's an it. It does not care about your feelings. It don't care about your babies. It don't care if your mama passed. It does not care because it is an it. This is not a who. It's an it. It does not have a personality like we do. The moon is an it. Okay? The sun and the moon are both the same. They are it. They don't have a personality like we do. Right? Water is an it. So the sun, moon, and water are all the same things. They are it. Now, we humans do an interesting thing to it. There's a word that you've heard me touch on before, and I'm going to discuss it again because it's very important. When it comes to it, humans do a very interesting thing because we're able to imagine. The reason why we're able to imagine is because our true nature is an it. We'll get into that in a second. But the reason why we can do things like imagine, like dream, because our true nature is in it. So what we do to things like the sun, the moon, water, we do something called anthropomorphism. And that is the attribution of human characteristics or behavior to a god, animal, or object. Okay? We begin to say, oh, the sun is feminine. And what we're thinking of it in the human context, but it's an it though. So if you say that the sun is feminine, does the sun recognize what you're saying? No, it does not, because it's an it. The moon is an it, but we will give it human characteristics. And when we do that to objects, that's called anthropomorphism. We have given water human characteristics as if the water has emotions. That's called anthropomorphism. Okay? Bring this down for a second so we can read this. 1 second. So anthropomorphism is attribution of human characteristics or behavior to a god, animal, or object. It is important to know that horses are sentient beings who experience pain and fear like we do, but their thinking and behavior cannot be directly compared to that of humans. Science shows that the equine brain is different and therefore functions differently from human brain. For example, horses cannot use logic or think in an abstract way that we do. Example of anthropomorphism. A horse fails to perform as expected by his trainer. The trainer assumes that the horse is being naughty and trying to embarrass him. But the horse cannot plot revenge and does not know the human concept of embarrassment. It is more likely that the horse was not adequately motivated to perform the requested action, was confused by the trainer's cues, or was in pain. Anthropomorphism is dangerous because by assuming that horses understand human concepts and think like us, we can easily assume that any non-compliance is purposeful. This sets up the horse for unfair punishment. Okay? That's anthropomorphism. We do that to deities as well, right? The Lord knows my heart. God loves us. That's anthropomorphism. That's a human characteristic. And we place it on gods, animals, and objects. Okay? So again, the sun is an it. This is an it. This is an it. You know what else is an it? We are. We are also it. Now, some of you might be thinking like, okay, what is that? It's light. This is light, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? This is what you really look like. What you're looking at is the original man. The original man consists both of male and female, but it doesn't stop there. The original man also consists of plant life. The original man is animal life. Man is every single thing on the planet. Man is a seed, a seed of light, though. This is our original state. Now, I know this is not sexy for you because many of you in your mind, the original man and woman for millions of years have just always looked handsome, right? They just started out 6 foot tall and they were pretty and had dreads and no. Remember environment. This is how we showed up to this planet as light. Now, femininity and masculinity already exist. You understand? Femininity and masculinity are not necessarily human things. They are metaphysical ideals that we have cut up and butchered and made into human behavior. But femininity and masculinity existed already when we were in this state. I'm trying to find something. Okay. So check this out. You see this battery? This is a regular AAA battery. This battery has a positive and a negative side, right? The positive and negative side of this battery has more to do with masculinity and femininity than the way that I wear my shirt. Okay? Masculinity and femininity deal with electricity. Positive and negative sides in the metaphysical world, not this world. But we have taken that, like I showed you with anthropomorphism, we have put human emotions on things. And now we think my haircut is masculine or the tone of my voice. My name is Ken Billions. If my voice is deeper, you would associate that with masculinity. If I walk with broad shoulders and upright, you would associate that with masculinity. Or if a woman is soft and sexy and she's batting her eyes, you would associate that with femininity. Her nails, you would associate that with femininity. But femininity and masculinity have more in common with this battery than it does the tone of my voice or the way a woman looks. You understand? So the concept is related to gender. Gender is one of the 7 laws of Hermetics. So even when we were in this state right here, gender exists. Male and female exists because they represent poles, right? Okay. So this is our original state. You are looking at man. Now remember, we were talking about environment, okay? And this is why it's important for us to reimagine what a man is and reimagine what a woman is, because we don't even know our state from the beginning. We start out as light, or what some people would call consciousness, right? But the earth has an environment. Now, you could call it gravity, you could call it different gases, but we begin to change our state on the path to being human, right? So you're looking at yourself, right? So now we begin to evolve in the environment. And we go to our neurons, right? So we're changing our state. So if you came here to this planet billions of years ago, this is what you would have seen floating around. Man. Right? And if you got a chance to live a long time, you would see man changing state. Right? The same way when we move to different parts of the country, we begin to adapt and adjust to where we are. We start changing our state, right? Now, the creation is happening in the unseen, and it's coming into the scene. Here's a diagram how I believe it happened. So you got the external environment, and the external environment is putting so much pressure on man that man starts to evolve into things, but it first starts in the unseen. You have the self-conscious, experiential conscious, the mind, the brain, the body, and now you have this behavior. But you see that red around? That's the environment. The environment is making us change from man, going into neurons, right? Now we need a brain. Okay? Man, this is what's so beautiful about knowledge, because where it can take you, you know, that when you reimagine who you really are and you really think like, yo, I was just a whole brain out here, right? Something's missing though, right? Environment. We need a nervous system. So this thing right here, this it, you cannot tell this it that his name is Charles. You can't tell this it that he's a masculine man. See, he doesn't understand masculinity in the way that you understand it. This it understands masculinity as a building block in the unseen for physical creations. You can't tell this it, yeah, it's supposed to protect and provide. It doesn't know none of that. That comes from environment. We'll talk about that later. So this is man. Look at it now. It's walking around now. It has a nervous system. Huh. Look at the changes that it begins to make, right? Has a nervous system, but now, you know what? Now we kind of got the shell. We need to fill the shell up with all the goodies. We need lungs, right? Look at how this makes sense. You see this conscious engineering going on? Like, how does this thing know that it needs to remove bowels? How does it know that? Right? It knows that it's going to have to eat eventually, and that waste is going to come out. How does it know that? How does it know that it needs kidneys? And everything plays a role on its own. You and I, throughout our day, we don't control our kidneys. The heart is beating on its own. You see, there's a universe going on inside, which would make sense because this is what we really are. Man, look at the way that all this stuff inside of us works without us doing anything. It's its own government, but it needs some protection. It needs a skeleton. What you are looking at is creation. And it starts from the unseen with a divine intelligence, and it knows what it's doing. Right? Now it got the skeleton to hold all those goodies in. Guess what happens now? You need skin. You see how the creation is? Now this thing is becoming human. Human. This is man. This is human. Human is colorful man. But what is color though? When we look at the etymology of color, we see that color is a covering. When we go to the second paragraph, we see that is the second paragraph justifying action spacious argument. We see that which hides the real character of something. So human is a colorful man that is hiding something. It's actually a diss when a person says you're a person of color, because color is hiding what you really are, which is this right here, right? See, because of environment, you become this. But the more we color ourselves, the more we forget that we come from the world of it. Same as this. Same as this. Same as this. The interesting thing about man, the seed of man that separates it from the rest of the it, is something called will. Because how is man able to go from this to this to this? Man develops a consciousness or layers to the mind. It comes with a brain. It comes with the nervous system, right? It comes with all the goodies inside. Then it comes with a skeleton. Then here comes the skin. And now we are human, color. Man can do something, right, that the rest of the it can't. Man has this will. The sun and the moon don't do that. So this is what makes man unique. To will yourself into something else. Go ahead and give yourself a round of applause. That's a beautiful thing, right? Now we're talking about environment, right? So now we're human now, right? We done went through all the stages. Okay? So now we're human and we're here, right? So the environment is programming us, right? We start to download what we see, and what we see starts to shape our psychology. Now this is millions of years later, and we have forgot what we really are, to the point when we see it occur, we're scared shitless. This is natural phenomenon occurring. It's just lightning, but we don't understand what we're looking at. And because this frightens us, fear, we begin to develop a psychology based on what we don't understand. Here's where your ideal of gender roles begin to happen, because we have fell so far away from what we were. We don't understand that when we're looking at the lightning, we're related to it. So we see it and it frightens us. And because of that fear and because of that environment, here's your gender roles. Whoever is scared the most is going to create the role. I think we should do this. Okay, right? And then after a while, that becomes culture. But it's based on fear. And then we also do what we do, and that's to anthropomorphize natural occurrences. So now we begin to associate something that happens in nature with higher than what it is. We say, you know what, we're cursed.
This tornado doesn't like us. It hates us. We begin to create gods and goddesses out of things that we see in nature that we don't understand. It's based on fear. The gender roles that was created in past time was created because of fear. Fear of the environment, fear of big animals, fear of sickness. There was a paranoia going on, and the way people thought it was best to survive was to acquiesce to the fear. The gender roles weren't based on problem solving, because some things women do better than men, and some things men do better than women. It wasn't based on ability or skill. It was based on fear. Okay? Because there's interesting periods going on in the environment. When we talk about tradition, we don't talk about the environment and what created the people to be that way. What are the characteristics of the Paleolithic period, the Mesolithic period, and the Neolithic period? And how did it affect the people that lived at that specific time? What was the oxygen level of the earth? You know, that would change a lot. How pure was the water? That would change things. You know, when you change one thing, you change everything. But we talk about time from a perspective of a ego echo chamber. You can't talk about time without talking about the environment. What happens when humans begin to eat more electric food? What happens to the humans that are on a carnivore diet? What happens to the humans that are plant eaters? What happens to the humans that start to live at a higher altitude? What about the people that live in the plains? What about people that live by the oceans? They're going to develop their societies differently. So for you to create tradition, you have to create the environment that created those traditions you are trying to mimic. The Neolithic period is a very, very, very interesting period. Because it's said that it's the end of the Ice Age, right? Now, the interesting thing about the Ice Age is the ice people that begin to be trapped in it. And we need to study the ice people more because we see the world through the lens of the ice people. As much as a free thinker, even myself, claim to be, I'm heavily influenced by the psychology of the Iceman. What you call gender roles has been developed by people of the ice. See, you don't know the gender role or what a man and a woman is through the eyes of the Choctaw. You don't know. You don't know the gender roles through the eyes of the Seminole. You don't know. You don't know the gender roles of the Dahomey, right? You know why? Because the Iceman put his entire culture and the way to see the world on everybody. Environment, remember? Right? When the people get trapped in the ice, their psychology is different. The Iceman must chase his food. He must create booby traps for his food. Do you know what that psychologically does to you? Especially if you are from a region where you pick your food off a tree. You are not fit to go to war with that Iceman. The Iceman has to constantly problem solve because the environment is so harsh. By the time the Iceman comes in contact with you, you are done. Now, the interesting thing about the Iceman is going to develop a spiritual system that is very angry because of the environment. At this time in the world is poly in the relationship and polytheistic. You've heard the term, it takes a village to raise a child. Where does that come from? It comes from all the men sleeping with all the women in the tribe. So when children were born, there was no private property. The child belonged to everybody because no man knew who the baby belonged to. So it was all of our kids. So the poly spirituality matched the poly relationship dynamics. Monogamy matches monotheism. The Iceman is also polytheistic. However, the psychology of the Iceman is sociopathic because of the environment. It cannot feel for the rest of nature. It has no feeling towards the rest of humanity because of the ice. Look at that. When the people from the north go south, it's a wrap. Now, let me tell you how much you are absorbed into the Iceman that you may not know about, right? Not just you, myself included. The Iceman has us dancing and copying the entire culture. What do you think this is? Where do you think this comes from? Now we're talking about manhood and womanhood being reimagined. Well, it has to be reimagined because it was for the last 2,000 years has been the lens of the Iceman. We haven't reimagined it. The Iceman's culture is our culture to the point you know who these characters are. But do you know what they come from? They come from Norse traditions. The Norse were tribes that inhabited Northern Europe, especially Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark. Historically, the Norse were known by the term Viking and were famous for their raids along Europe, the British Isles, and continental Europe. Again, look at the ice. There are people that live in this for thousands of years. When that ice melts, they rain terror on the rest of the world. So much so that culturally, we don't even know we're in the Iceman's mind. The Norsemen were not homogeneous. They were a spectrum of various tribes speaking different languages coming from the north of Europe. They were seen as a Germanic people and considered as savages and vandals with great knowledge in sailing and shipbuilding. You know why that's important? Do you know the word God is Germanic? Do you know it simply means to build a mound? That's their language. Now, the ill thing about software, because you're not Norse in psychology, God don't work for you. It's not your language. Your psychology has to match up with the language that you're using for it to be effective. So we use the word God because we are pulled into the Iceman's world and don't even know it. When you say you believe in God, it does not mean anything because you're not Norse. And it doesn't mean what you think it means. This is why all these things have to be reimagined. It makes sense that there is a certain group of people that dominate the entire damn world. Why? First of all, they're using a language that is matched up with their psychology. Why do we put a ring on the finger that we do? Do we know? Who said that a man and a woman is supposed to walk down the aisle like that to be married? Who said that? Who said that you're supposed to sleep in a bed with somebody every night? That's the way that a human is supposed to live with each other. Who said that? Who said God, right, represents what we're trying to describe? Who said that? God is a Germanic word, right? So when you use it, it don't hit. You're not Norse. Y'all seen Odin in the movie Thor? This is real mythology here. You seen Odin, father of Thor, Baldur, and other gods? Where do you think this stuff comes from? This is we are living in someone else's mythology. So what we call man and call woman, we haven't even reimagined that. We are in another people's imagination of what a man and a woman is, based on what? Living in the ice. Pete, the creator, they have a creation story. This creation story lines up with the creation story in Genesis. Ymir was cruel and brutal, like the Old Testament God. Odin and all other gods could no longer abide by his evil acts, and together the gods slew him. Y'all know Loki, right? Do you know Loki is what you refer to as Satan? Look at Loki's monikers: shape changer, the sly one, concoctor of lies, thief of giants, evil companions, father of Sleipnir, enemy of the gods, forger of evil, contriver of Boldar's death, wrangling enemy of Hamlandor, right? What is Loki? The god of mischief, trickery, and deceit. Here's your devil. What you call Satan, you mean Loki. When the ancient texts from the old world begin to move into Europe, they take their Norse story and infuse it together. So what we are doing is the mythology of Norse people. Loki is Satan. Isn't Satan the father of lies? Everything Loki is about, that is the characteristics of what you call Satan. And then you have Thor, your Jesus. Thor was the most powerful of all gods. Even Odin served as the protector of gods and humans from evil. He is the god of thunder and lightning. Thunderstorms began when he rode his chariot through the sky. Interesting, right? Let me tell you how much we are in this culture. Look at the days of the damn week. Sunday, Sun's Day. The sun gave people light and warmth every day. They decided to name the first or last day of the week after the sun. Monday, Moon's Day. The moon was thought to be very important to the lives of people and their crops. Tuesday, Tweez Day. Twee or Taror was a Norse god known for his sense of justice. Wednesday, Woden's Day. Woden or Odin was a Norse god who was one of the most powerful of them all. The days of the week are Norse. Friday, Frigg's Day. Frigg was a Norse god equal in power to Odin. Saturday, Cedar's Day or Saturn's Day. Saturn was a Roman god. You see why man and woman has to be reimagined? Do you know we may not be getting along with each other, or we may be in a bad space with each other because of what we imagine it to be based on ice people, right? Now, the people of the ice, remember I said they're polytheistic, but things begin to change. Things change. We go from polytheism to monotheism. Polytheism is the belief of multiple gods. Gods have limited power, air, sun, sea. Then we go to the belief of monotheism, the belief of one God. The one God is all powerful. The difference between polytheism and monotheism is the woman is included in the godhood of polytheism. Monotheism is dominated all by male deity, even a male devil. This becomes a problem for the woman. What you're looking at right here is ancient fertility goddesses carved. Some of these images are 30,000 years old. So the woman was also always held in high regard. Do you notice something? All the images are naked. A woman's nakedness was never a bad thing. A woman's sexuality was never a bad thing. Remember, the world was poly. Man and woman had multiple people because there was no such thing as ownership. You didn't own land and you didn't own people. Or if you did, it was some type of transaction and a person could work the debt off. Okay? So the woman's nakedness was never looked at as dirty until the Iceman begins to reshape ancient philosophies and ideals, and they bring it into their culture. And their culture, the gods are mad. Of course they're mad. They're looking at the ice. Female sexuality becomes the blame for shit like this. Natural disasters happen, and then people are so scared. Remember, all of our gender roles come from fear. So when a calamity happens, we have to find out the cause of it. We're not from a scientific perspective, we're doing it from a superstitious perspective. So when something like this happens, the closest thing that you can identify that might be upsetting the gods is female sexuality. So this also begins to put the man in a bad spot too. I'll explain in a second. Look at these images. These are from all over the world, 30,000 years old, 15,000 years old. Fertility goddesses, revered in the ancient world. But when we shift over to monotheism, the woman is missing from the story. Okay? In monotheism, the woman is reimagined, right? So is the man. But the woman is now under the man. Okay? This is not a gender war topic. Right? So don't go there, right? I know your minds. I know you niggas. I know how you think. So listen to the Norse god talking. To the woman, he said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain, you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over thee. Prior to that, the man never ruled over the woman. The man begins to rule over the woman in this new reimagination of man and woman, because it's pulled into someone else's mythology. So for a woman at this specific time, husband was not a positive to a woman. When these ice people begin to go throughout different cultures and destroy their culture and rebuild it in a European or Ice Age ideal, they start to put the man over the woman and they upset their balance. What does it do to the man? By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. So now here comes this ideal of what a man is supposed to be. That ideal never existed though. Because what a woman and man is supposed to be does not address their individual human design. We are not fixed like that. I take the trash out because I pick up the responsibility to do so. That's not necessarily my nature. I'm not supposed to do it. I do it because I want to. If a woman cooks food for me, that is not her design. That's because she wants to. But in the mind of the Iceman, we're pre-coded for things like that. Why? Because in Norse traditions, the gods were angry. These people developed their psychology in the ice. They wage a mean war on the woman. And as time goes by, remember, environment. You got things like coverture. Now, when a lot of modern men and women are talking about back in the day, they're doing it missing a lot. Coverture. So the woman under coverture had no options and no wiggle room. What is coverture? Coverture established women's civil status in common law and became the basis for married women's legal status in the United States. Coverture defined a married woman's legal status as suspended and incorporated into her husband's. In marriage, the man and woman became one, and the law recognized only the husband's existence. A civil death that left married women economically and legally dependent on their husbands. Where would a psychology like that come from? The ice. This is an Iceman philosophy. Because the Iceman believes that the calamities that happen on this planet are because of women's sexuality. So this is why it's important to promote womb control. Control the woman's womb. Control the woman's womb. But understand, this is a reimagined man and a reimagined woman, because this is our real state for real. This is our real state. This is our real state, light, consciousness. We fell from this state. And in the fall, different cultures have dominated. So when we talk about a woman from back in the day, you have to talk from the perspective of the environment. You're not talking about women that had choice. The woman fell, right? She was no longer revered for sexuality. Sex was now dirty, and the woman must be pure. But the fall also affects the man too, because now his only sole purpose on the planet is to provide the woman's needs and go to work. That is it. He must work from the sweat of his brow. That's it. But some interesting things begin to happen, because as environment changes, listen, you change one thing, you change everything. This changes everything. What happens when the woman has choice? Environment. See, coverture was an environment, right? This was good for men, terrible for women. But it's environment though, right? Now, what happens when the environment changes? Sexual revolution. Now, women now have sexual choice. What does that do? That changes everything. Now that the woman has sexual choice, the undesirable man that got a wife before doesn't now. The undesirable man that had access to a woman before, because he had resources, doesn't now. Now she begins to have agency. So the man changes, the woman changes, the man doesn't. The man is still stuck in another environment of how it used to be. Right? This is how this stuff works. You change one thing, you change everything. The woman is different now. The man is not different. The man is holding on to old ideals. The man is holding on to ideals from a world that worked for him. But that world doesn't exist anymore because the woman has choice. So now choice changes everything, right? She changes, the man doesn't. But what the sexual revolution also does, right? It gives men access to sex now, right? But it works two ways. The man has access to sex, but what's driving the man crazy now is he can't control the womb. So he can get sex, or overabundance of sex, but he can't control it. And because he can't control it, it messes up the psychology, right? Okay. Here's what it also does though. Because now the man has access to sex, he no longer has to do certain things that he did in a previous time, because the price of pussy is at an all-time low, right? So now the man changes, but the woman stays the same, because the woman is expecting the man to do some behavior that he did during coverture. So because of the sexual revolution, he changes, she stays the same. Because now the thing that once made her valuable to a man, there's plenty of it. and he can buy it if he wants to. We are not the same. Every time there's a change, we fundamentally change. The fact that a man has access to sex at this rate, that changes. The common man has never been this sexual in the history of mankind. And because the woman has agency of her womb now, right? That changes the dynamic. Because now she's existing in a world where she calls the shots of her sexuality. Of course, dating and mating is going to be different now. The man has access to sex. The woman also has agency of her womb. Why do we keep bringing up 100 years ago when people did what they did? Those days don't exist no more because the time, the environment has changed. 100 years ago, a woman didn't have agency of her womb, and 100 years ago, a man didn't have access to sex like this. 100 years ago, most likely, you married someone, you didn't get a divorce. So we are talking about a time and we're scratching our head, oh, we need to go back to that. You can't go back to that. Too many things have changes. Now, what I really am curious about, because we have to reimagine what a man and a woman is after we go through these changes. What does it mean to be a man? What does protecting and providing look like in a world of the Hadron Collider? Do you guys know what's going on at CERN? CERN does nuclear research. What you're looking at costs $4.7 billion. This is called a Hadron Collider. What a Hadron Collider is designed to do is to try to create a sun, the power of a sun. It's called nuclear fusion or quantum fusion. You know, the same thing that Tony Stark had in his chest? That's fusion. That's unlimited energy. If they are successful at this, do you know what that's going to do to the world? We will have unlimited energy. We will have the power of a star. Now, what does that mean? What does that look like in terms of a man protecting and providing? So we have to reimagine what a man is, because no longer does a man have to build a house. It's already provided. You don't have to hunt. The food is already there. The whole environment has been civilized to the point of a man wanting to be needed. What does a man being needed look like in a world where there's unlimited energy? So what is a man? What does a man look like with the Hadron Collider? The power of a star. That's what is in Tony Stark's chest. A star. This is in Switzerland. Right? Now, as we go on, we're going to create a way where the robots are handling all this hardware. Right? So what does it look like to be a man? Because there's something about the man now needs to be needed. But the places that he's needed in, we're civilizing. So what does mating look like with clean, unlimited energy? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Let me show you something. right? That's what they're doing. The power of our sun. Our sun is a star. Unlimited energy. Do you know that that changes the way we mate? That changes our approach. We have to reimagine what a man is in current times because the conditions are different. Now, while we're reimagining what a man is, we also have to reimagine what does a woman look like in the modern world? This is your future, woman. This is the future of birth. What do you mean a woman is naturally a nurturer? What time period are you talking about? Are you talking about a period where the mortality rate was high? Are you talking about a period where there were bubonic plagues? Are you talking about a period where a woman couldn't put the child down because of predators? So she had to hold them to her cloak, hold them close to her? What does a woman look like in the future? I haven't thought about this because you're stuck on tradition and a world that don't exist. And that's very dangerous for your bloodline because you think that world is coming back and it is not. You either are going to adjust to the future and reimagine what manhood and womanhood looks like in a technological world, in a world of quantum fusion, or you are done. Period. This is the future. Unless you are a baller and you're able to create an alternative society off grid, but if you live in the mainstream, this is what it is. This is what motherhood looks like in the future. Now, if this is what the future looks like, what does it mean to be a woman? Because everything that we've associated with being a woman is connected to the womb and ability to give birth. Huh? If this is how you're giving birth, you're going to have to reimagine what it is to be a woman. So no longer is your womanhood going to be associated with your womb. It's got to be something else. Maybe your womanhood might be associated with laughter or something else. But this is the future of birth. And it's millions, maybe even billions of women that will take this option right here. They can keep their shape, they can keep how they are, and this is how they can give birth. I'm telling you, you think this is science fiction. There are women on the planet that wouldn't mind being a mother this way. It's going to just be chilling in your crib. So what is a man and what is a woman? Y'all are out of many people are out of line in terms of the time. I know the podcast people are. They're not even talking like we're in the future. Oh, a man is supposed to, and a woman is supposed to, and femininity and masculinity. Yo, CERN is creating a star. This star is going to power regions in the world. Do you know the temperature they have to heat this thing up? 100 million degrees. This power has the ability to crack the planet in half. Okay? It also has the ability that if there are creatures or beings on another side, you can create a damn portal or a wormhole. Listen, man, it's a star. A star. What are we talking about again? What a man is and what a woman. Y'all talking about the ice. The ice been gone. Okay. What does being in your femininity look like in right here? You're going to have to reimagine the things that you're saying. And if you're from the urban market, you're basically locked out of the new world. I hate to tell you to. The podcasts are like crack. It's dumbing you down so much that you are locked out of any conversations going on, any conversation going on at the World Economic Forum, any conversations going on at CERN, any type of scientific advancement, any type of corporate mergers. You're never going to know. You're locked out. It's an intellectual apartheid. And what does femininity look like? I'm asking you, ladies, because y'all participating in the fuckery too. A woman and this is the future. So define your femininity when you're giving birth to a child that is not in your stomach. Define your manhood, sir, when the woman completely does not need you for survival at all. So what's man? Because a lot of our psychology has came from doing for the woman, but that doing is based on coverture. Remember, a woman's legal status was suspended and incorporated into her husband. She was not a person. In marriage, the man and the woman became law, and the law recognized only the husband's existence. They called it a civil death that left married women economically and legally dependent upon their husbands. So what's manhood with this? We keep talking about, yeah, when the system is shut down, and it's never shutting down. The internet is never going off. This dystopian thing that many of you want to try to get the relationships back, it's never going to happen. And if it happens, you're going to be at the bottom of it. Many of you are hoping for a Mad Max kind of reality. And you think that's going to put the nuclear family back in order? It's over. You're going to have to reimagine that too. What do you mean? The babies are going to be coming out of here. This Hydra Collider is making a star. It's heating up temperatures to 100 million degrees. It's so hot that it would melt you to death and you wouldn't even feel it. It would just be like ashes. A sun. That's what that thing on Tony Stark's chest. It's fusion. It's you don't have to agree with me, but all I'm telling you is reimagine what you are. But don't forget, this is your origin, right? And look at, we've reimagined so many times, from neurons, consciousness, developing the brain, nervous system, right? That was a body bag. My name is Body Bag Ken, right? And over here at Coin Gang, we take old ideals, old dogmas, and old ways of thinking, and we put them in a body bag, right? Go back to the beginning and play this start to finish. This is a body bag in a body bag. But I had to reimagine myself too. I had to reimagine myself of who I really am. I gotta stop acting like I'm a regular, degular dude, and I'm not. I'm a superhero. I'm a nigga with waves. You take care of yourself and each other. Go ahead and hit that Cash App on your way out. Remember, you gotta put something down to pick something up. Reimagine. Till next time. The reason why you down, cause somebody stole something from you. They stole your creativity. They stole your innocence. They stole your ability to dream. Well, I came to help you dream again. I came to help you get them dreams back. So you can start using your mind, changing your reality based on your thoughts. The struggle is in your mind, bro. The struggle is in your mind, girl. You can't be a victim in this life. You gotta go get yours. The universe is abundant. Everything on this planet is made to serve you. They got you distracted, thinking everything you need is outside of yourself. But that's the trick right there. I came to wake you up. I came to remind you. I came to tell you that the God that you're looking for is in the mirror. All you gotta do is all you gotta do is have audacity. I want you to dream. I want you to think outside the box. I want you to know there ain't no ceiling. The things that you believe changes your genetic code. You are your thoughts. You picked this life before you came here. So now it's about you turning that tragedy into triumph. The struggle is real, baby. It's all in your mind. All you gotta do is wake up.